Welcome to the Sunshine State Entrepreneur Spotlight, your ultimate guide to the electrifying world of Florida's business scene. Every week, we dive headfirst into the action, showcasing Florida's most innovative startups, game-changing entrepreneurs, and leading industry pioneers. Today, I have the privilege of having with us Macy Baxi. Macy is an impressive woman that I've known for a couple of months. She can type 1,000 words a minute. She's been to Disney World over 200 times while living in Michigan, not in Florida, and has interviewed over 375 professionals in 3 years. Macy, it's a privilege to have someone of your knowledge and insight, and welcome to our podcast today.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I really appreciate you having me here. I'm super excited.
Super excited to have you, and let's get right to it because you have a very unique, interesting business that we'd love to share with Florida and all around the country. So tell me, we know each other from a networking group called BNI, Business Network International. So I'd love you to just tell us and tell the listeners about what you do and how you got into your industry.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. So, what I do is I'm a podcast host and a podcast growth specialist. So, I've been hosting my own podcast for about over 3 years now. And how I got into it was a really funny story. So, it was about 2021, beginning of 2021. We were pretty much kind of exiting COVID, right? And it was like the real bulk of it, especially where I lived in Michigan. We were pretty locked down. And so, the day to day life, the day to day communication I was so used to having was kind of losing it in there, right? Like I almost didn't talk to like people for a year. And before that, I worked at my family's restaurant for about 5 to 6 years as a customer service rep. So I was constantly talking to people. So to go from that to like not talking to anyone for a year was really crazy and jarring for me.
That's a big
Well,
change, isn't it?
it definitely was. And especially because I was 17, so I was pretty young. So I was still like forming who I was. But I knew that when I turned 18 later that year, I really wanted to go into business like my dad. And I didn't really know the best way to go around it, right? The best way to go back into networking, the best way to do any of these things. And I had to build skills because I didn't, we're not born with a lot of these skills, especially in sales, especially in business. So my dad's like, hey, why don't you start a podcast? He's like, he's been in business for over 20 plus years. He's like, I'll set you up with some of my friends. You can interview them just 15 minutes on what they would say to their younger self. And I was like, okay, it seems really crazy. It seems very intimidating, but I'll do it. And so I did about 100 episodes before my 18th birthday of just interviewing different business owners and, what would they say to their younger self, their story and their advice and all of that really great stuff. And I learned so much in the process because not only did I do 100 episodes, but I did them so back to back that I was learning networking skills. I was learning communication skills. I was learning, just basic social media skills, right? And so through this process, I was still in Michigan. And then a little bit later, about 2 years ago, we moved from Michigan to Florida. And I'll admit it took us some time to really figure out what we wanted to do and how we wanted to assert ourselves business wise in Florida, especially because so much had gone online. We were like, maybe we should just move to the online market. But then we were like, hey, we moved down to Flagler County. We noticed something about Flagler County is they love in-person events. They are a very tight-knit community. And I thought, hey, what better way to get to know the community than to kind of spotlight them? So that's why I started Why I Love Flagler County. And so since starting that podcast in, maybe November, December-ish. It took me a minute to actually get it launched, you know how it goes. But I've done about 170 interviews. Kelly's one of them, a lot of other people that we know or have been a part of it, just spotlighting what they love about the community, what they love about their business. And so from there, it's really blossomed and grown. And I'm really happy to say it. I didn't really predict it. I was just kind of doing it because my dad told me to all those years ago. But now I'm like, wait, I do know things about podcasting. I can help other people. So that's been really cool.
Wonderful. Well, sometimes parents are right, aren't they?
It's true. Typically, my parents are always right. I've learned this over and over again.
Mine are too. And it's just, I'm so in awe and impressed by you because before you were 18, you had recorded 100 podcasts. Now, as I was turning 18, I was graduating high school and salting French fries at a fast food chain every Saturday from 12 to 3. So it's just really impressive that you've accomplished so much. And I don't want to say at such a young age, because I don't want to undermine your profession and credibility, because it's just amazing. You've done so much more than maybe people that are twice your age, so it's really impressive. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what do you love most about what you do and hosting this podcast and helping local business owners?
Well, I really love talking to people. It's one of those things where I feel like for me, I thought I was a very extroverted kid. But then, middle school and high school hits and insecurity hits, and then you kind of want to go back into your shell. So I kind of thought I lost a lot of that. But when I was doing the podcast, it really brought in, and I went from like I think the first maybe dozen or so podcast episodes I did, you could tell I never wanted to talk. I didn't want to interrupt. I didn't want to actually have a dialogue. I just wanted to ask them the questions and move on. But now I'm so much more into interacting with them and making it, as much as a conversation as it can be, with, not taking the energy onto me or anything, but how I can skillfully make them feel like they're not talking to a robot or something. So I really loved just being able to connect with so many people. I do them on Zoom, and I meet a lot of these people in person too, which makes it all the more fun. And then helping other businesses with their podcast has been really fun too, because I've been, coaching different things most of my life. When I was, in high school, I taught figure skating for, the toddlers and something, nothing too crazy. But I've always loved that part of helping someone else out and just seeing how I can make everything easier and possible for the goals that they have. That's always been a huge passion of my whole family's, and it's kind of passed down onto me, which has been fun.
I can tell by your demeanor and your expressions, it's something that you really have a passion about, and it's really a way to help local business owners. And not only does it help the business owners, but it's really helped you fine tune your skills from being afraid to talk to people and being sheltered, to really opening up a whole new world for these business owners and for yourself. So it's really wonderful to hear your story and your passion.
Thank you.
So I'm curious, and I know you have mentioned this to me, but I'm hoping you'll share it on the podcast, if you have any upcoming projects or goals that you're excited about. And there's one in particular I'm hoping you'll share, because I think it's a huge deal.
Thank you.
I'm hoping you could share about that.
Yes, I definitely can.
Absolutely.
For sure, yeah. So upcoming, so as of this recording, we're recording this at the beginning of August. And at the end of August, August 31st specifically of 2024, I'm going to be giving a TEDx talk on the TEDx Cherry Creek High School stage in Denver, Colorado. And I'm super excited. It's going to be pretty much on that topic of how I used podcasting to kind of break out of that shell and to kind of redefine what my passion was, and kind of find myself, because especially because it's a high school stage. I thought a lot of people in my age range, I feel like, are kind of confused on maybe what their passions are, what they should be, how you can find them. I know a lot of people aren't looking to do the traditional path nowadays, but how do you still find that? How do you still spend time harnessing that skill? And just communication skills as well. It can be very hard in a very digital age, that talking to a real person can sometimes be hard for anyone. And I don't want them to ever feel like, oh, well, then that's just not for me. I'm meant to be more introverted. I'm meant to have bad conversations, because it doesn't have to be possible at all. So that's really what my talk is about. It's a short one. It's only like 8 minutes. And it might seem like that was a long topic for 8 minutes, but it all boils down to one thing, which I think is what's important, is once you focus on that one thing and how you can find an action to overcome that, that's when the change happens.
That's so unique and such a great opportunity. We're so excited for you and look forward to seeing it in action. And I look forward to seeing how you share that message, because when we met a couple months ago, I've appeared on a podcast or two and never really thought of it as a business tool to help connect others. And it's really a giving type of prophecy, isn't it? Because you're helping other business owners get the word out there. And I never really thought of it, but now that I've had that education and coaching with you, I'm incorporating this podcast as part of my marketing plan to help other business owners. And if you help others, it comes back to you. So
exactly.
Do you have any other projects that you want to share or anything that you're passionate about outside of your podcast? What do you love to do when you're not interviewing and helping local business owners?
Oh, well, I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that's always coming up. I mean, this is more business again, but every fourth Friday for anyone in the Flagler, Volusia, like anyone in the Northeast Florida, we have our monthly lunch and learns. And I can send Kelly the information if anyone's ever interested to check that out. The link usually stays the same. It's been the same for the past few months. But it's always updated with new information of the recent event coming up. So that's really exciting. Those are always really fun. I've been hosting events with my dad's been hosting events and I've been helping out since, I could talk. I've been writing down badges and checking people in and telling them like when lunch is going to be served, what's lunch for today. I've been doing that since I was like 7. So it's very second nature on how to host those events. So those are always really fun. But on the side, I just kind of like to hang out with my family. I'm heading off to London pretty soon, which is really exciting. I'm spending my
Ooh,
21st birthday
very.
there. So that'll be really cool.
Congratulations.
Thank
Wow.
you. Yeah, so that's a big one. And then upcoming, our family is going to what's it called? The Grand Teton Parks, and is it Yosemite? I think it is.
Yes, I
Yeah.
think that's one of them. Yes.
Yeah,
Wow.
so they're
What
all in that
that's
area.
so
So that'll be a
exciting.
fun trip.
Wow. Wonderful.
Thank
Well,
you.
you've taken all this time to help business owners, so I'm glad you get to do a little bit of fun stuff
For
too. And you,
sure.
you really are an integral part of that monthly luncheon. And I've seen you in action at those. So if
Thank
you
you.
could, offline share the link with me, and I'm happy to share it at the bottom when we publish the recording of this podcast, so we can help you get the message out there, because it really is a great once a month luncheon, and I've been in attendance of a couple of them too. So before we wrap up for today, Macy, just if you could just let us know, to the listeners out there, how we can best help you grow your business. How can we best help?
Perfect. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So I believe I sent Kelly a few of my links. So if you ever want to reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, if you have any questions about launching a podcast yourself, feel free to reach out. I have a few different free guides that maybe can just help you put you down on the right path, as well as my YouTube channel. Any support, liking, subscribing, those are always super helpful in the YouTube algorithm world. I'm just constantly staying in game and making sure that all these business owners are getting the exposure that they deserve and that their stories are being heard. So I've sent Kelly those, and I'm sure they're going to be in the description or how are the show notes, whatever that looks like. So yeah, those are all really great ways to reach out to me and support me.
Wonderful, Macy. I will be sure to share those links in the show notes and help promote you in any way we can.
Thank
And
you.
thanks again for personally helping me to launch this podcast for myself. And again, to all the listeners out there, thanks so much for tuning in to the Sunshine State Entrepreneur Spotlight. And Macy, thank you again for your time. It's a privilege to have you as a guest today.
Thank you so much. This was an amazing experience. I appreciate it, Kelly.
Thank you. Have a fantastic day, everyone.